Oh,
That's what I
can
see
hear you
too, Mary. I don't hear anything and it just says recording.
now. Oh, can we hear them now?
Well, I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the January 12th, 2022 Fitchburg Conservation Commission. Can you hear us now?
We can.
The Conservation Commission has 7 members. Members are citizens residing in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. The commission is appointed by the City Council and serves on a volunteer basis. This commission collaborates with the residents, businesses, and organizations to facilitate compliance with the 8 interests of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Fitchburg Wetlands Bylaw. Meetings of this commission are subject to and abide by the open meeting law. If you would like more information about any of these regulations, feel free to ask a commissioner, the agent, or environmental consultant. Thank you for your commitment to the conservation of our natural resources. And thank you for your patience as we navigate this hybrid meeting. The commission requests that folks wishing to speak approach the podium and speak clearly into the microphone. And remote attendees maintain microphones on mute for privacy. If you would like to speak, use the chat or raise your hand function to alert the chair of your intention to speak. Let's start by calling the roll. Commissioner Bro? Commissioner Baker? Commissioner Christian?
Here.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Here.
Commissioner Helene?
Here.
Commissioner Sarfield in attendance. Let's start by, we're going to go out of order here, and I'm going to start by bringing up the minutes. And I'd like a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the Tuesday, September 28th, 2021 regular meeting. Can I have a motion and a second?
Motion to accept the minutes of that meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimous. And to the Wednesday, October 13th, 2021 minutes for the regular meeting, can I have a motion? And
Motion to approve those minutes.
a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. To the Wednesday, November 10th, 2021 regular meeting, can I have a motion and a second to accept those minutes?
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Helene?
Aye. Aye.
Do you
Did you
accept?
get me? I said aye. Yep.
Okay, thank you. And so motion passes unanimous. And to the Wednesday, December 8th, 2021 minutes, can I have a motion and a second?
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay. So we had a request for a continuance on the notice of intent Leclerc. So we're going to move forward on that. We had a request for continuance on the notice of intent for, is it Greif? Did I say
Greif, yep.
Greif?
Yeah, it's
So
an oil
we're gonna
pond dam.
Move forward on that. That leaves us with the request for determination of applicability, Fitchburg State University proposed track resurfacing, 47 Pearl Hill Road. To that matter, Michael, do I need to recuse myself from this? Because my husband works for Fitchburg State. I'm actually a
disease
graduate student at Fitchburg State.
stand to gain financially about whether they resurface the track or not? I think you're.
I'm also a student, I'm actually a graduate student there. So do I need to recuse myself or?
I wouldn't.
Respectfully request you not recuse yourself. I'm a graduate there, as are 8 or 9 of my other brothers and sisters. My father taught there for 27 years. I'm not offering to recuse myself.
No, I'm an active graduate student.
Good.
Okay,
Good.
so-
Please, you've divulged that. The public is aware of that. If they have an issue with it, let the public bring it up.
Thank you. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission opens the hearing for, the request for determination of applicability. Where am I? Fitchburg State University proposed track resurfacing 47 Pearl Hill Road. Who do we have speaking to the
Well,
request?
we have Megan, and Megan, I'm going to botch your last name, so I'll just call you Megan, who's a consultant for Fitchburg State on this project. And let me see if Dan can.
Just to use this time, I've reviewed the plans submitted by Activist Landscape Architecture for the renovation of FSU field improvements. I'm inclined to issue a negative determination, but I reserve the right to recall any changes to the plans that were submitted would be reported within 24 hours to the Fitchburg Conscom for approval. But I'm ready to give you the green light.
Thank you. Go ahead. I can't see that far. Megan?
That's okay. Yeah, thank you. I'm Meg Bazinski with Activitas. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep, you're good.
Thumbs up? Yeah, we're good? Okay, great. So thank you, and I have Mary Beth McKenzie with Fitchburg State as well, if we need any of her input from the client side. But thanks for having us tonight. So I'll do a quick overview. I know you guys have the plans in front of you. Basically, we're just looking to, resurface the track in the field. That track in the field was put in 2004, 2005. Each have kind of lived its life and is ready for a resurfacing. So we are proposing to take out the existing synthetic turf that's within the field area, recycle that as best we can, reuse some of the infill, and put in a new turf carpet. And then at the track area, we're planning to actually keep the majority of the track surfacing in place and actually surface over the top with a thin layer. There are some additional improvements just around the track, really more deferred maintenance, power washing some of the concrete areas, doing some patching and some seal coating potentially of the walkway that goes around the track area. And that work really the limit stops at right adjacent to the track. There is a pathway that kind of goes down towards some of the resource areas, but we're not going down in that direction. So this would just be for the area adjacent to the track. In the shot put area, which if you're looking at the plan is kind of in the bottom left corner, we're just reestablishing, there's existing stone dust there now. That's just, it's weeded up a little bit over time. So we're reestablishing just the edge of that and putting in some new stone dust, just so, we get rid of the weed seeds and things like that inside. We're not doing any excavation. We're not touching any areas outside of areas that are already disturbed. We're really not, moving any earth as well. So just kind of replacing some of the track events that are within the existing track area, but certainly no disturbance to undisturbed area in the buffer zone or anything like that. Touch on quick the buffer zone areas. There's an intermittent stream to the west, and there's a kind of a wetland area bordering wetlands to the southeast. We are technically within some buffer zones, but as I mentioned, all previously disturbed areas is where we'll be working. So with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions that you may have. One thing I forgot to mention is we do have erosion control, straw wattle, kind of along the southern edge of the site, where we are kind of above grade. Still not, really disturbing anything in terms of excavation, but just having that there as a just in case. So with that, I'd love to open up to the commission with any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Buczynski. Mary Beth McKenzie, do you have anything to add?
No, I do not, thank you, but I appreciate your consideration today.
Thank you. Okay, so let's open the floor for public comment. Is there anyone who, there's no one here, but is there anyone online who has joined us and would like to comment? Or has any questions? Michael, do you see anyone?
I do not. No.
Okay. Hearing none from the public, are there any commissioners that would like to speak? Go ahead, Commissioner
Repeat my
Dunn.
earlier comment. I've reviewed the plans submitted by FSU and prepared by Activitas Landscape Architecture for the renovation of FSU field improvements. I'm inclined to issue a negative determination, accept the plans as submitted, and any changes to the plans that were submitted to be reported to the Fitchburg Conservation Commission within 24 hours for approval. With that, I would vote for a negative determination.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other commissioners who would like to comment or have any questions related to this? Commissioner Helene, Commissioner Christian?
I don't really have many concerns. Is the artificial turf harmful to the environment? Will there be any runoff from it? That sort of a thing? What type of material is it?
Sure. So it's going to mimic what's there now. All the studies have shown that there's no negative environmental impacts from the synthetic turf or the infill that's used. The drainage will operate in the same way it has for the last, I don't know, I guess we're on year 15 or 16 by now. So it'll continue to drain, infiltrate in, as well as I believe there's a singular outlet going towards the wetlands areas. So those will all be maintained as it is today.
And it's just a resurfacing? We're not going any larger with the track or anything?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Megan, just question time frame? What time of year would this work be done?
Sure. So it's going to happen over the summer. Obviously, Fitchburg's going to use it for their spring sports this coming spring, and then we're hoping to. We're going to be out to bid. We're kind of just starting to go out to bid right now, and then hopefully the contractor will mobilize. Beginning of June to get that work done. It'll be about a 10 to 12 week process. Just from staging, kind of the field has to happen first, and then the track happens around it. Just the way that we have to sequence the event. So it'll be the entire summer, but the goal is to have it ready for when athletes come back for the fall season.
Okay.
Megan, it's a common practice for this commission that when you have that pre-construction meeting, that you invite Mr. O'Hara here as a representative of the commission, or that you invite the commission to the pre-construction meeting so that we can identify areas with the construction crew that they should avoid and manage best management practices. Are you willing to invite the commission to your pre-construction hearing?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to accept this plan with some qualifiers, as Commissioner Donnelly stated. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Christian. Let's call the roll. Commissioner Bro, not in attendance. Commissioner Baker, not in attendance. Commissioner Christian,
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Helene,
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield, aye, and the motion passes unanimous. Thank you very much, Megan and Mary Beth, for attending tonight.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Okay,
Good night.
Thank you.
thanks for your patience.
All right, moving forward, I guess into other business. Before we get started, I want to thank everybody for their patience with the chair as I left to work. I had to work late tonight. So thank you for your patience and your flexibility. Let's get this paper signed. Mike, do we need the other commissioners to come in, or is it?
I mean, I can see you guys outside. We just need 2 more to make a quorum, so we'll make it work.
Right. Moving forward to other business, do we have Mr. Pierre Marini from the Leominster DPW?
No, Mark sent me a note late this afternoon. There was a family emergency at home. He had to bail right after the Water and Wastewater Commission. But he said he'd be happy to follow up in an email, maybe take some pictures of that site, how the restoration of the area of that water line repair, and maybe handle it that way, talk about it at next month's meeting.
Okay, so we'll move that to next month. And at that point, we will have had a chance to review his photos and his write-up. Okay. Rollstone Hill cleanup. Is Mr. Hillman on?
Now, Jeff
available?
is signed up. I see his name here. And Jeff, I'll call up the photographs that you sent me.
Mr. Hillman, how's your onboarding process with the DPW?
Whoops.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we hear you now, Jeff.
Okay, sorry about that. I guess I was muted. No, it's going great so far. Everybody is wonderful and splendid to work with, so.
We're glad to hear that.
Perfect, thank you.
How did everything go with the Rollstone Hill cleanup?
It went really well. So over a 3-day process, they were able to remove, I believe, all but 4 sites of debris material, car chassis, and stuff like that. So the first few images here are pictures of the debris, whether it was the car chassis, bed frames, old washer and dryers, material like that. So they were able to get that material out, and they put it into a dumpster and trucked off. The contractor was Lakeview Landscaping. So they did a splendid job. They were well organized and worked really well with the Fitchburg DPW to get that debris out of there.
You folks remember Lakeview did the cleanup on that steep slope
that's great.
behind Harvard Street this past summer, and did a good job.
I think it's wonderful to hear that they are using best management practices while they're on the Conservation Commission land. Go ahead, Mr.
Yes.
Hillman.
So this image here that you guys are looking at, that was the updated map of the sites that was provided to us that we forward along to Matt May and his crew at Lakeview Landscaping. I'd like to add, we did not touch any homeless encampments. We left those alone. DPW had told the contractor that we did not want to get involved with them and leave them there because it was a safety hazard to have to try to relocate them and whatnot. So they are currently still there. I say the encampments are there. I did not see anybody to me that looked like the area was still active. There was one of the site locations, 18, which is on the top left portion. Yeah, right there. around that area, there was an encampment that I saw that looked to be more active than the other ones. I guess when I say active, more usable in the last few months. There was a significant amount of debris there that was not, I did not realize that encampment was there, but when we were removing the debris, we did find it. So we didn't touch it, we left it there. But just as a further note for you folks, there is a significant and large encampment right there, with some debris and clothes and tents and whatnot. But if you go to the last page of this, so you scroll down a little bit. This is this is what Matt May's crew was able to achieve. So all the yellow X's indicate the areas that they were able to access, and they removed the debris, the junk, the metal. The ones that are not marked out are the ones that they do not get to for one reason or another, whether it was safety. Because actually, during that 3-day span, there was freezing rain, and there was a little bit of snow, so there was some slippery conditions. So like sites 4 and 12, they were not able to access due to safety concerns. But the other ones, all the white, yellow X's, they were able to access that material and get it out of there and put it into the roll-off.
Thank you for the
But
update.
the remaining sites, I do feel, could be accessed with volunteer work. The debris that's there, I believe it was site 6, potentially could be a homeless encampment. There was a bed noticed in that area by the contractor, so he did not touch that one. But the remaining sites could certainly be accessed by volunteer help or other means to get the debris out of there.
Whoops. Damn it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hillman, for your careful consideration of the cleanup of that site, and thank you for your sensitivity to our unhoused population in Fitchburg.
No worries, thank you.
And once again, if there's anything you need from the commission, we're very happy to work with you and to have you as our liaison.
Perfect, thank you.
Welcome. Are there any questions from the commissioners related to the Rollstone Hill cleanup? Commissioner Christian, Commissioner Helene?
No, all set. Other than, what is the long-term plan for the homeless encampments? Is that dealt with through the city, or, what will stop that from coming back repeatedly?
Mr. Hellman, do you have a response for that?
So I was instructed by Courtney. She told me that right now the DPW has no direction to engage with them. That would have to be gone. I guess that would have to go through the upper channels to make a decision on what can be done with them. But for right now, the DPW cannot engage with them for safety reasons.
Thank you, Mr. Hellman.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's move forward with Mad River Solar. Do we have an update from Mr. Rowe? Is Jamie Rowe on the meeting?
No, Jamie's here for the Woodland Estates.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Well, then let's tackle the Mad River Solar updates. Sorry about that.
Because we had...
Who do we have for that?
We have someone from the environmental consulting firm of ERM, and either John or Tom or both de Neuvilles. Let me just get the latest letter that we received today on the screen. Let's see. get,
So we can let VRM know that anything that they send needs to come in 7 days prior to the meeting, moving forward. Oh, ERM?
okay. I'm trying to figure a way to turn on the appropriate mics here. Yeah, here we go. There's an Owen Grant, I believe, who registered for this. Yeah, there's Tom, Steve Holden with ERM, and Tim is here as well. Tom DeNeuville, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Do you want to start things off, or anything you want to add? We have the letter on the screen here. We'll make it a little bit larger that you sent this afternoon.
Sure. Happy to give a little introduction to the letter if that's helpful.
Sure.
Yeah, great. So,
After this,
in relation to the site and the existing order of conditions, we have been working with ERM to come up with a remediation plan for the Commission's consideration to hopefully get the site back in line with the order of conditions. As mentioned, a representative from ERM is here to go through their recommendations, and we would welcome a chance to provide any additional details that the Commission would find useful.
Okay, so where is this letter? Is that in the Dropbox?
You're looking at it on the screen.
Okay.
Oh, I have real hard copies of it. Hold on a sec, too. That might be appropriate. It's double-sided. Take one of these.
Thank you.
There's a couple more. We have this, right? I already read this electronically, right? Same document we received electronically?
Unless you read it within the last 2 hours.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So when did this letter come in?
Late this afternoon.
Okay.
There was an earlier one that I received from Tom, rather, dated January 5th. That was in the Dropbox that you guys got last Friday. But this flushes things out a little bit more. And it was from ERM, as opposed to Mad River Solar, was the letterhead on the previous one.
So I read, yeah, having read the letter submitted to us by Mad River Holdings, it's polite, and it's concise, and it's complete, and it addresses any shortcomings. So I guess that handles it. And I got every indication from the owner of the property that that's how they'd handle it at the last meeting that we were here. But I would just challenge the committee, the Conservation Commission, I'm sorry, that at some point in time, there has to be repercussions from violations, if violations occur, and a polite and concise remediation effort. If that'll do it, there is no reason to comply with the Wetlands Protection Act the first time if you get a second and a third chance, that's all. But I don't know that there were any violations. They're entitled to do what they did. It just wasn't in conformity with the order that we signed off on the solar deal. But that was nice. I look forward to them restoring or cleaning up any mess that they made that we were unaware of going to be done. It's a logging operations. It's not a mess. It's wild lands.
Tracy,
Madam Chair?
I see that John Barrett has Oh, that's Tim, and I see
Yeah,
John Barrett has his hand up, too.
Yes, Mr. Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, if I could just interject. So in the letter, it says that work occurred that is not in compliance with the order conditions that the Conservation Commission issued to Mad River Solar. So there's no question that they're not in compliance. The other thing is clearly in order for the project to move forward, the Conservation Commission has to amend its order of conditions. And it's at the commission's discretion whether they want to just simply consider the remediation plan and then reach a decision and make and approve an amendment, or they can, the other extreme is that they can require a whole new notice of intent to be filed, and somewhere in the middle, they can hold a new public hearing. There's been a number of butters have attended previous meetings, voicing a lot of concern. So I would recommend that the commission require another public hearing, and that the abutters be duly notified.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
I would agree with Tim. Yeah, the letter obviously states that they weren't in compliance, and like Mike was saying, we don't really have a lot of recourse with people if we just say, oh, okay, well, this is your remediation plan, that's great. So, I think we should address the neighbors' concerns going forward at the very least, and if there's any other sort of steps that we can take so that, we ensure that people aren't just doing what they want and then asking forgiveness later, I would like to hear something suggested. I just don't know what's in our control to do.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Helene. Commissioner Christian, do you have any comments?
Yes, I think that I would like to see him start over. I think this is not a mere oversight. I think it's, a well-played hand. I think that they had this thought out that they were going to get the logging exemption, and they did, and the work is done. So now we need to start over, and the neighbors need to be brought up to speed. I don't see this as just a mere oversight. I think it was a well-played hand to get the job done as down and dirty as they could. That's how I see it.
Thank you, Commissioner Christian. Mike.
Two folks have their hand up, just so you know. Attorney Barrett and Tom DeNeuville.
Okay. Before we move on, have we worked with ERM in the past?
I haven't personally, but I understand from Ralph, who couldn't be here tonight, that he has done, and is a well-respected, huge firm.
No, the reason I asked is if we're going to be adding another stakeholder, which is always exciting, we want ERM to know, and we have Steve Holden. Is it Steve Holden that's with us tonight?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so Mr. Holden, we love working with our stakeholders to facilitate compliance with the Wetlands Protection Act and our local regulations and bylaws. So how we generally do that is we have you working with our team, and that would include Mike O'Hara and Tim Smith, our environmental consultant, as well as Jeff Hillman, who is our liaison to the DPW. And we like to do this in a way that is what we consider to be friendly to the businesses and the landowners, and help you develop these plans so that you know all along what our expectations are, and we can help bring down everybody's costs on these projects. So we'll connect you with everybody involved so we can work together. It sounds like, it sounds like we're going to need to have this be a public hearing next month. We haven't notified any of the abutters about this tonight, and I would hate to move forward without notifying a stakeholder about this update. Also, Mr. Holden, we generally accept information for a meeting the Tuesday before, I guess it's the Wednesday now, before the meeting. That's our deadline for accepting any information for the meeting, so that way we have a chance to review it appropriately. Do you have any questions for us, Mr.
No,
Holden?
that makes sense. Yep, and we'll keep that in mind next time we submit for sure.
Okay, thank you. So you said we have Attorney Barrett with his hand up?
Yes, and Tom DeNouville.
Go ahead, Mr.
I
Barrett.
think you both unmuted, gentlemen.
Oh, okay. Am I unmuted now?
Yep, you good, John?
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Madam Chairwoman Sarsfield. We understood the matter was on tonight I guess basically a status report. Last time, I know we were charged with dealing with the problems and trying to correct the situation that occurs here. I would like to take exception to the comments that this was a carefully laid out plan. Unfortunately, there was a snafu. There's no denying that. As I said before, is kind of the case where the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. Mad River Solar didn't have anything to do with the logging operation, and that was something that just took place by the landowner. Admittedly, Mr. John DeNouville is the landowner, and his son is Tom DeNouville. But unfortunately, they do live in separate areas, and Mr. John DeNouville, I know, is in New Jersey. So unfortunately, there was a disconnect there. I think what my clients, and I'm now representing Mad River Solar in this matter, want to do is to correct that. I can understand why the commission and Mr. Donnelly feels that, well, people shouldn't go and do stuff and then ask forgiveness afterwards. I know it's a common tactic, but I would argue that that's not the case here, and I think that's evidenced by the fact that my clients have gone out and gotten, I think, a very respectable and substantial company to deal with the problem. Unfortunately, they were not, with the holidays and everything, I think there was some delay in getting this to you, and I think that ERM needed some time to sort of come up to speed on this. But I think from the letter you can see there is the effort here to deal with the problems, and quite frankly, if it's the Mad River Solar would like to go forward. Sorry, it's a little disorienting just looking at a blank screen. Usually I get to see people in the meetings, but tonight that doesn't seem to be a thing. So I'm not sure if that's the way it is, or my computer is kind of messed up here, but I think
Yeah, you can stop screen sharing.
if the commission
You can stop
does
screen
want to have
sharing for you. How's that?
well, at least I can see you guys now. That's good. But anyway, and I certainly hear, I heard Councilor Kuchar last time. He's concerned about what's going on there, and we do want to address those concerns. So if the commission feels that there needs to be a further hearing on this, I don't think my clients could object to that. But I do want to just reiterate that the effort here is to, put the project back on track. I think it's a good project for the city of Fitchburg. I think it was hardly endorsed by the planning board, and I think by the Conservation Commission when it first came before you. So unfortunately, we hit a bump in the road. I don't think it's malignant or intentional, and I guess we'd leave it at that. And I don't know if Mr. Holden or Tom DeNouville can add anything about the plans here. I think it still needs to be, a remediation plan needs to be more completely put together, but I guess I would just ask if we're having a hearing next time, what would be the specific goal to approve a remediation plan that the commission would like to have beforehand, or is it an issue of whether or not we can go forward at all?
Well, I think, John, I think the commission's being asked to approve a remediation plan, but without a site plan before them. So I suppose the restoration area could be shown on a revised site plan, is one thought. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole purpose of a public hearing, right, is to provide a venue for providing information to the commission and to the public and abutters. So
yes, I would like to hear from the abutters going forward, you know, what their thoughts are, because they did have some strong thoughts on how this all transpired. And so just to get their, you know, approval going forward as well, that's, you know, our job to the constituents. But I also am curious if there were, and I don't know if this is in our purview, but was there money made off of the logging that happened within the buffer zone? And I'd like to see, you know, what transpired there, because, you know, we can say that, oh, it was an honest mistake, but I venture to guess that at some point that lumber was sold and bought, and you know, that's definitely something to think about.
Tracy, I see two neighbors, Ms. Capone and Ms. Sheehan, in attendance, if you would like. Okay,
so I just want to remind everybody this is not an open hearing, and that in the interest of transparency, that we do want to make sure that that we maintain that what I would consider to be an ethical compliance with transparency. So, Mr. DeNeuville, did you have someone else with their hands up? Did Mr. DeNeuville, one of the Mr. DeNeuvilles put their hands on?
Tom had.
Someone had their,
Yes.
someone.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
Mr. DeNeuville, go ahead.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of underscore the point. This property is currently owned by my father, and I've been engaged in solar development for a handful of years, and we're here to try to get this property back into compliance with the order of conditions. And I know it's a little confusing because we're related, but we are really two different entities here. And I'm working through Mad River Solar with ERM to try to deliver the site back to a place where it will be in line with the order of conditions, and that's what we hope to do. And the forestry project, regrettable, unfortunately, is not something that we had anything to do with, couldn't control, and didn't know about. And you know, you can blame the communication, but we're here to try and solve the problem, and hopefully we can, because we think it's a great project, and hopefully it will serve everyone's needs well. So that's our goal. We come at this from the perspective of trying to fix what's been done here, even though it wasn't anything that we had a hand in.
Thank you, Mr. DeNeuville.
I understand that, but you know, there's been some sort of irreparable damage, right? So we have to, you know, from the perspective of which entity it is, doesn't necessarily affect me as much. And I want you guys to be able to move forward, or, you know, as much as, you know, the next person, but there's still the fact of like the remediation process as well that we have to take into consideration, all those moving parts.
Sure, and that's why we've hired ERM to put together what we believe will be a top quality recommendation on what to do with the site.
Thank you, Commissioner Helene. Mr. Holden, I just want to bring to your attention to the matter of the Mad River Solar order of conditions. I think, as I recall, that we had gone through when we did the site plans and when we came up with the order of conditions, we had gone through and identified wetlands, flagged wetlands, and et cetera, that were not on the cutting plan. Am I correct in that, Michael O'Hara?
There was
Like
certainly a more complete delineation than
Correct.
that was on the cutting plan that was attached to what was sent to and approved by the state forester.
Okay, so let's make sure that we're using that updated, delineations. And like I said, let's work with Mr. O'Hara and Mr. Smith to make sure that we are working to facilitate compliance.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that the full delineations are shown on the solar project site plans, but we would definitely want to confirm that.
And Tom and John, you have a copy of those plans done by J.R. Russo back in 2020?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and go ahead, Mr. Barrett.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I'm not sure if I have the full plans. I do have quite frankly, just to answer Mike's question there, I do have the sketch that was done for the logging operation. So I'm not sure. I'm sure that the Mad River Solar submitted plans, and I agree that we have to jibe what was submitted with the logging operation versus what was submitted for Mad River Solar.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Did we have, you said there were two abutters?
Yeah.
Did they have something new to add? Just in the interest of, this isn't a public hearing, so.
Karen and Ms. Sheehan, if there was anything else you folks wanted to add, you're unmuted.
Hi, this is Eileen. And I did want to say that I do want to see this improved and fixed. Hopefully the process will go a lot better than the logging did. The plans that I have, I believe, are from 2019 from Mad River, and they were much more complete than the logging plan. And I think the logger did that on purpose so he could collect more. And there's a lot of water issues, and we would all like to see those addressed quickly. And I guess that's about it. Karen?
Thanks, Eileen.
Hi, this is Karen Capone. I'm just looking forward to hearing about the remediation plans.
Thanks, Karen.
Madam Chairwoman?
Yes, sir.
John Barrett. I just would like to respond to Ms. Sheehan's concern about water. I think we want to know exactly what problems they're having, and I don't know if now's the time to do it, but I would certainly say that we would reach out to her to find out what problems that they're having, water issues, so we can try to deal with that.
Okay, the stream along Stickney Road, we had a heavy rain after the last meeting, and it was beyond its mapped area of coverage. And with all of that, it brings up the sediment, and all of that runs into the Phillips Brook, which runs into the Nashua River, which is a big watershed area. Mm-hmm. So none of that is good. It's not in the Massachusetts forestry best practices guidelines.
Okay.
And people along Ashburnham Street are having problems with water in their basements and mud and debris flowing into their pool. And I think Karen would know more about who and where. So she's one of the people that lives on Ashburnham Street. I'm on Stickney Road.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and absolutely. That's one of the key parts of the restoration plan, I think, is getting the stormwater controls in place, either, temporarily until the more permanent solar project construction BMPs are installed, but certainly to prevent any further stormwater runoff into adjacent properties or the wetlands themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Jeff Hillman's still on this call. He's still on the Zoom.
I see his name up there still.
Best of our knowledge, but we'll include him in the word. He's one of our stakeholders, so we'll include him. And yeah, let's move forward with this, and we'll look forward to next month. Is this what we had? This is what was in the Dropbox.
That's
so
right.
We don't
That's
have
what
a
you have.
remediation plan or anything.
Just what's described in that two-page letter. And on that, to Steve and Tom, is that enough time to have a plan submitted in time for the next month's Conservation Commission, which would be Wednesday, February 9th, if we had that, at least a week ahead of time?
Yeah. That's a good point, Michael.
So that's February 2nd then, right, Mike?
No, second Tuesday. Second Wednesday, like today is. So,
for the hearing, but you would want the plan at least a week before, right?
Right. Sorry, I misunderstood you, John. Right, at least a week ahead of time. So the 2nd of February. You're right. We would need the plans.
Yeah.
Well, I think maybe if the plan isn't feasible to have at that time, that at least they should have an idea of what has been done and mapped out, just to have a place to begin with.
So thank you, Eileen. Mr. Holden, do you think that you would be able to get something together? That is an aggressive timeline. Do you think you'd be able to get something together, or do we need to think about, we can always have a special meeting too. We can always hold a special meeting.
Or just an update at the meeting on the 9th, if we don't have a finished plan.
Sure.
Right, yeah, that's where I was thinking. We could certainly provide some updated information, whether or not it's a final plan or not. I think it would be enough to, to facilitate further discussion.
Okay, Steve and Tom and John, both Johns, if you just let me know, so we put it on the agenda and advertise it, or we're just putting it on under other business for discussion and update. Okay?
Okay. Well, thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Chairwoman Starfield and Mr. O'Hara. And I don't know if Tom or Steve, you have anything else to add, but I think we do have our marching orders. And thank you, commissioners, for your patience, and thank you for the neighbors for their contribution, letting us know.
You're welcome, Mr. Barrett. Thank you for attending tonight. Thank you, Mr. DeNeuville. And
Thank you.
Mr. Holden, it was a pleasure to meet you.
You too, thank you.
Good luck the rest of the night.
Thank you. Okay, so moving forward. We've got Woodland Estates.
Yeah.
Is Jamie Rowe on the call?
He is. And Jamie, you're unmuted. Jamie, you're around?
Hello?
Yep, we hear you.
Ah, fantastic. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Mr. Rowe.
So if you remember, we did walk the site on November 20th. It was a Saturday morning, and most commissioners did attend. And I was scheduled to come to the December meeting. I believe it was December 8th, and I had to cancel at the last minute. I apologize. Had a family situation come up, and I'm here tonight to continue the conversation, to answer any questions that you had regarding the site walk that we had that Saturday, November 20th.
Thank you, Mr.
Tracy,
Rowe.
can we let the, back up to just before Jamie started talking, can we have the record show that Mr. Christian is recused himself from this because he is in the butter? So.
Certainly. Yes. Mr. Smith, did you have any comments you wanted to make?
Yes, I do. So we've got a project that had a valid order of conditions, and that order of conditions has expired, and construction continues. Two questions. Has the detention basin been completed, and has the replication area been completed yet?
All good questions. The wetland replication area, we've called Marianne DePinto to go visit the wetland replication area and the wetland area in that location to determine if it was done correctly, and any modifications need to be done to make sure it's functioning properly. So Marianne DePinto is going to be taking care of that in the next couple of months. With respect to the detention basin, I do not believe the detention basin is 100% complete, but the detention basin that we saw on site when we walked the site or drove by it is outside the 100-foot buffer zone. But I do know it is not 100% complete yet.
Right, but the detention basin drains into the wetland resource area, correct?
Correct, yep.
Yeah, so we've got all this work occurring. The replication area is directly adjacent to the wetland resource area, and we don't have a valid order of conditions. So that needs to be remedied to bring the site into compliance.
So we had conversations, Tim, at the last meeting I attended and on site. And the question I posed to the commission was, would the commission like to have us move directly to asking for a certificate of compliance, or would you like us to file a notice of intent to do that? And the commission rightly asked the question, was the wetland replication completed, which I could not confirm. So that's why I backed off of that position and engaged Marianne DePinto to take a look at that. But all the other work in the 100-foot buffer zone that is shown on the plans has been completed. There's no question about that. We saw that in the field.
Okay, so I've in the past talked to the DEP about similar situations, and what I've been advised is that if it's really some minor details that need to be done, then the commission can just let the work be completed. But if the replication area hasn't even been started, I mean, if it hasn't been done, and we still have work on detention basin, I think to bring the site into compliance, they've got to file a new notice of intent, because otherwise they're doing work without either. So when you do work, right, there's two situations where you could be doing work in a resource area or within a buffer zone. One is you've got either a notice of intent or a negative determination. Two is you have a violation notice, and we have none of that right now. So we've got work on, or potentially work ongoing, without any order conditions or violation notice, and so that's not in compliance with the Wetlands Protection Act. So I guess we wait and hear from Mary Ann as to the status of that replication area.
Yeah, so again, my recommendation was, if the wetland replication area was completed, we'd have to certify that it was done correctly. But if it was completed, we would move right to a certificate of compliance, do the inspection, do the as-built plan, submit it to the Concom for comment, have another site walk, and then move forward. But I could not confirm whether the wetland replication was completed or not. It's a very, very small area, Tim, that they proposed to replicate the wetland. So I punted on this one and called Mary Ann, and I'm going to have her come in and make an independent assessment whether it was done, and if it was done, was it done correctly? And then I'd give you that report, and then we can have a discussion about it. With respect to the site is in compliance with the Wetlands Protection Act, with the exception that there's not an order of conditions. All the work is complete. The work that's ongoing is outside the 100-foot buffer zone completely.
Yeah, excuse me, Jamie, the work is not complete. We don't know that we have a replication. So the applicant certainly did the wetland crossing and filled in the wetland, but right today, we don't know that that replication was done. Right. And we have a detention basin that still potentially is under construction that empties into a wetland resource area. So right now, the site is not in compliance, and we do not have an order of conditions.
Well, we can disagree. We can agree to disagree on that, and I don't have a problem with that. My recommendation to the commission was, if the wetland replication area was not complete, I would recommend filing a notice of intent to do the work and make sure it's done correctly and go through the process all over again. I have no problem with that. That was my recommendation months ago. But with respect to the detention basin, again, the detention basin is clearly located outside the buffer zone. It does drain into the wetland eventually, but all the best management practices are in place and functioning in the 100-foot buffer zone. There's no violation, there's no evidence of siltation going into the wetland or the brook whatsoever. So although the detention basin might not be 100% complete, it's probably 90% complete. There's some work that has to be done. That work that has to be done in the detention basin is outside the buffer zone.
Right, and so what I hear you arguing is that the detention basin is in compliance with the order conditions that's expired. I don't think we're too far apart, Jamie, really, but...
I don't either. We just keep in mind, Tim, in the commission, respectfully, that we didn't file a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission for the construction of the detention basin. We filed for the work in the buffer zone for the brook crossing. So the original filing was not for the detention basin whatsoever. But, you know, admittedly so, it's an intricate part of the stormwater management system. Has to be done, has to be completed, and it has to be done correctly, no question about it. But right now, throughout the years, there has been no evidence whatsoever of any violation as a result of that detention basin not being 100% complete. It's not affecting a wetland resource or the buffer zone whatsoever. But if the wetland replication area is not complete, I am very happy to file a notice of intent and go through that process. Not a problem whatsoever.
Yeah, so my recommendation would be first to answer that question. What was done to complete the replication area?
Yep, I agree. And that's why we called Mary Ann DePinto. I would expect her to have that report complete, probably not for the February meeting, but for the March meeting. And I'm happy to submit it a couple of weeks prior to the meeting and have it on the agenda, and we can go over her report, and whatever the report says, we can come up with a game plan to make sure we do it correctly.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Do we have any commissioners that have a concern? Hearing none, thank you very much. We'll move forward.
Can I make one more comment, please?
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Rowe.
So We are also pursuing this issue with the planning board and will be on the planning board agenda. I believe that's going to be January 25th.
That's
and
correct.
Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But we're going to have the conversation with the planning board with respect to the blasting issues, the hammering issues, and we're going to be discussing timeline to complete. So if you have any comments with respect to any of those issues, you want to share that with the planning board, that would be fantastic.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe.
You're welcome.
Michael, I
Everybody have a
assume you'll be at
fantastic
that
night.
meeting.
I assume I will, yes.
I have to be in Boston on the 25th. I'm not, I won't be able to be here for that.
Okay, good.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Rowe. We'll move forward with the spotted lanternfly.
And quickly on that, by the way, we had, well, first
Boy,
off,
that's a problem.
we got notice earlier this year that there was a spotted lanternfly nest located in a tree of heaven, was a species, on the
It's another
backside.
great invasive. It's like an invasive taking over an invasive.
I know, this is kind of ironic, isn't it? And they really like nesting in laying their egg sacs in tree of heavens. Anyway, that tree was over on FRA property near the Putnam Street Bridge, going up over the railroad track in the river. That was identified, there were traps set up, and that tree isn't there anymore. It was taken away and chipped and brought to an incinerator. All summer, folks from the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources have been out frequently to check to see for other infestations along the, basically along the Nashua River. And a week ago, we got notice, not even a week ago, that there had been infestation on several trees near the riverbank, on sort of opposite the DPW barn. So it's, they're on the other side of the river, so this is behind Rollstone Bank property. It's a stone's throw from City Hall. So we met out there, Gary W., the tree warden, and I met with a woman from Mass Ag at noontime today and took a walk. They had spotted tree egg masses in the trees, marked those trees, so they will be hiring a contractor and taking them down, chipping them, taking the chips away, because you can't just leave the chips on site, because chipping it doesn't remove the egg masses, and taking it to Pine Tree Power, the wood burning, which is convenient because it's just down the road. And so I said I would discuss with the commission. I mean, obviously it's work within the riverfront area, but I told them before that I was pretty sure the commission wouldn't have an issue with issuing an emergency certification to authorize that work. So that's what I would strongly suggest. And in the meantime, the gentleman from the COO at Rollstone wasn't able to make it this afternoon, but they will get together, and I've talked to him several times, and give their written approval to work on their property. So, but the good thing is that looks like it's as far as it goes and doesn't go any further upstream. Ralph, Dr. Baker had alerted me a week ago that, you know, there's a large stand of Tree of Heaven at Gateway Park, and have they checked down there? I don't think I think that is outside of the radius that they have checked so far, but they have that on their radar now, so they'll be checking down that way too. So if I could suggest just given the okay to issue emergency certification to remove those trees and take the chips off-site.
I don't think that's unreasonable. Mary, Commissioner Helene?
Yeah, no, I'm all for it. So
I mean, Tree of
if
Heaven.
we're ready to make a motion,
Yeah.
let me know.
I don't think we need a motion for that, because we don't.
Oh, okay.
Well, we'll just do it.
We could take.
We'll
we
just
can
do
deal
it
with
because
that
it
next
needs to be
month.
done.
Yeah. But Tree of Heaven, that's a seriously invasive species, and it's not as bad up here as it is in Ohio. I mean, there were Tree of Heaven everywhere. I don't see them as much up here, but maybe it's
There's a lot at Gateway
Yeah.
Park.
Well, let's
believe
get
me.
rid of them then. I mean, and perhaps is the greening the gateway cities, is that in the zone to replace trees? Or is that not what the purpose of that grant is?
I think that was more, as to whether it's in the right zone, I'm not positive. But I don't know if you want to plant basically a street tree, on the riverfront.
Okay.
One of these trees is on the river side of the river wall. So they're going to have a contractor who has a crane,
Oh, my goodness.
and there's a power line that runs parallel to the river.
Wow.
So it's a tricky situation.
So we don't need to replace these trees.
Right.
I think we would probably have money in our fund to pay for replacement trees if we needed to in areas where it was appropriate.
But I don't think on that area. I mean, they're just weed trees. They're going to get rid of a lot of other weed trees behind Rollstone Banks building. Kind of tucked in near the old Rollstone Street Bridge. If you take a walk back there, you'll see.
I don't think anyone's going to cry over cutting down some tree of heaven.
I don't think so.
Well, okay, thank you for that update. I saw something about a jumping worm. Was there a jumping earthworm?
The woman from MassAg had we talked about, it looks like it hasn't spread further north. It has spread to other cities and towns in Massachusetts. And he said, and then there's the jumping earthworm, which is a real thing. And Mark can attest to that because he confirmed one MACC training they talked about that. Well, that's an invasive species too. I'll send you some more information on that.
Okay, so let's move forward with the certificates of compliance.
There are several, and actually we don't have enough people physically so.
Do you want to move this to next month?
We could, there's one I think would be good to get out of the way, which is 3 separate, I'll talk about it and then I'll pass it down because people can't hear me. But 3 separate orders of conditions issued over the years, and this goes back to the 80s, for property down on John Fitch Highway, 105 John Fitch, and a couple of surrounding parcels. A certificate of compliance was never requested over the years, even though it's been that long. There's 2 different buildings as there. One's had been a mattress retail sales, but I think cleaning up the orders of conditions on this one will help facilitate potentially the move of a certain fast food operation from further up John Fitch Highway, which is right on Baker Brook. At least that's what I think this is going towards. So there are 3 separate ones there.
Okay.
There's 3 additional ones for projects that really never started.
Okay.
One was an expansion of the funeral parlor down on Winoosonock Road on South Street, which never had been issued in 2008, never happened. Can't now because that's long expired. There was one issued, actually Mark would be familiar with this, to Jim Haynes, JCJ Inc. for a rather large condo development on Arnhoff Farm Road beyond Fitchburg High School, which never happened, and that is long expired. And then there's one from 2010. It's on South Street, just south of Romano Ave, on a steep slope. It was a single-family lot. There were several extensions, and we're beyond like the 3rd extension. So that is the 3rd and last one tonight.
Do you need people to come in and sign these?
I'll contact people. I mean, I like to bring it over to Mark's house, or,
Okay.
we'll see. I mean, Ralph obviously had a conflict tonight, but, can hook up and get a fourth signature.
Okay. We don't have a quorum, so we can't vote on it. But thank you for staying on top of those, Mike. And that being said, can we have a motion? Well, that being said.
Tracy? Tracy, I just joined, so maybe you have a quorum now.
Okay. Well, hello, Dr. Baker.
Hello.
It's nice to see you. You missed a rousing Tree of Heaven conversation.
My webinar just ended, so I decided to see if I could help you.
Oh, good.
So are we?
Thanks, Ralph.
Are we okay to?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's four members. You're the only one in person and 3 virtually.
Okay, so can we have a motion and a second to certify the certificates of compliance that we've discussed tonight on work that never started, or?
I don't know if Ralph or
Ralph, did
Mary
you-
or Mark had a chance, but there was a bit of a spreadsheet with a description. These are from years ago, these projects. We can go over it if you'd like, or we can wait too.
Yeah, I have not had a chance to look at those.
Okay.
We can do it next month.
Yeah, that's fine. As long as we do have a quorum now, a couple of quick things.
Okay.
I didn't catch in my notes, so sorry, but did we talk at the tail end of last month's meeting about National Water's NRWA dues?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we did
Good.
vote on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Quickly,
And we voted the Nashua River and the MAC one as well. We voted on both.
that was
of them.
yes, that was
Yeah,
prior,
okay.
right. The city's open space and recreation plan needs to be updated, and that is getting started. There was a separate appropriation to hire a consulting firm in order to do that. I was talking with Amy LeBlanc of our office today, and there's 4 firms that had submitted, including several firms that we've worked with before, BSC Group, Reston and Sampson, and a couple of others. So I want to keep Concom members aware of that, because certainly it's something that folks on the commission would want to participate in, the preparation of that updated plan.
Yeah, do we get invited to be a part of that, or?
You shall be invited to it. We
How
shall
exciting.
make sure.
Thank you.
And, let's see. Oh, one quick note, floodplain. So we went through this kind of extensive zoning ordinance update last year, remember? And after the fact, we get word from the state floodplain manager that in order to remain, for the city to remain in compliance with the National Flood Insurance Program, there needs to be some changes, some tweaks to the language. So there's a ordinance amendment, a petition for an ordinance amendment, including some other housekeeping things that are going to next city council docket, and that'll go back through the whole process with planning board approval and hearing and city council approval. But just wanted to make you aware of that, because we have to keep the National Flood Insurance Program in effect in the city, or else flood insurance rates would go way up.
Yeah.
And that's about all.
All right. Dr. Baker, we can certainly get you updated about the meeting if you want me to give you a call tomorrow, or you can talk with Michael.
Okay.
We can,
One thing while you here, Ralph, quickly, I know you couldn't make meeting this afternoon with the woman from Mass Ag in Gary, Withington, but we took a look at all the trees along Boulder Drive, on the riverside of Boulder Drive. And she was able to point out some of the egg masses that we could see of the lanternfly. And so earlier the commission okayed issuing an emergency order, an emergency certificate to okay the removal and chipping and taking away of those trees in order to stem. And they are going to check further upstream at Gateway, like you had suggested, for the Tree of Heaven infestation over there too.
Great, thank you.
Before we finish, I'd like to take a moment and thank all the commissioners.
I have, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I have one question for Mike. When they were talking about these lanternflies, did they say anything about like where we have idle train cars sitting overnight? Because that's one of the primary ways that they're transported. So like down along Airport Road and such, we have trains, you know, sitting idle there all the time. Are they looking down there for these lanternflies?
Well, that's how they think it got here in the first place.
Right.
Woman said that initially it was found in Pennsylvania in a shipment of like stone, granite.
Yep.
And just made its way further, probably on rail corridors further north up to Connecticut and, you know, in Massachusetts for the last several years. But,
So in a place like down across from the airport where there are cars sitting all the time, you would think, you know, that would be a good place for them to be getting off.
yeah, well, I mean, and how many miles of rail line go through this burg too, Mark? But, I mean, I can alert them to that and ask them if they've checked down there. I think they only go a certain distance from where the original infestation is found. I mean, the woman said that they're kind of lazy and they just, rather than fly great distances, they just sort of hop from tree to tree.
So we've got lazy spotted lanternfly.
So I'm not sure how much resources they have to.
I guess that's a plus.
That's a good thing.
Opposed to the industrious spotted lanternfly.
But I'll give a heads up to them and ask if they've checked further along the other rail lines in town, including the ones toward Airport Road.
Yeah. And at this point, I do want to thank all of our commissioners, and that's a great segue because while we might be a few members short, we've got members that are really pulling their weight, and I think that's amazing, and I want to personally thank everybody for the time that they donate to the city and for their commitment to our natural resources and to public service. So thank you. And as an update to everybody, Commissioner Bro accepted a job that was local, and so he's going to be staying on the commission, which is exciting and wonderful. And so on that note, can we have well, the chair, I guess the chair closes the meeting.
Oh, okay.
How's
Just
that?
supreme powers. Sure.
I mean, we can, if we can have a motion and a second if you'd like.
I move that we adjourn.
And a second?
We got Mary down.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And the chair agrees. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a nice evening.
Good night, guys.